Davis steps under center. Gibson and McClendon behind him. Davis with motion by Richard. Will give the ball to McClendon. He leaps. Oh, he doesn't get in. He fumbled the football. Carolina holds. The game is over. And Carolina has won the game.
Finley to throw. Over the middle, intercepted. Wolford again. Wolford the other way at the 30, the 40. Wolford to midfield. Miles Wolford with the pick. The Heels on the doorstep of an enormous victory.
Left side of the line. Hood standing to Williams' right. Williams going to throw. One-on-one. Davis has it.
Touchdown. Carolina wins. Carolina is the Coastal Division champion.
Bernard fields it at the 26.
Heading to the far side. Gio at the 35. Gio is at the 50. No, he's not. Yes, he is. Gio is going to take it for a touchdown. Are you kidding me?
Connor Barth for the possible win. Snap, spot, kick away, high enough, long enough. It's good! It's good! Carolina has won the game on a 42-yard field goal by freshman Connor Barth. Good gosh, dirty.
This is the Heel Tough Blog Podcast.
Hey guys, and welcome in to another edition of the Heel Tough Blog Podcast. It's your host, Anthony Pagnotta, back with you guys as always. And today we welcome in another NFL draft writer, one of the best in the business. He writes for Pro Football Network. It is AJ Schulte. And AJ, first of all, I always like to ask my guest here since COVID started how everyone's doing. How's your family doing during these difficult times? Because as we know, we're all going through an extremely difficult time in our history.
We're all doing great. Nobody's said any health issues. Nobody's been sick. We've been very, very fortunate in that aspect. So, we don't hardly leave the house anyway. So, we've taken enough precautions that we feel pretty good right now where we are, and we're just hoping for that continued health.
Yeah, definitely wishing the best for you and your family during this time and going forward. Look, we're still going through with everything when it comes to the NFL draft. The NFL Scouting Combine, of course, did get canceled, so it is going to be a little bit different this year. But April's draft is still on. It is still going to be probably similar to what we saw last year. But they did have the Senior Bowl this past week. The Tar Heels with two guys that participated in the Senior Bowl, and the guy that shined down there was Michael Carter, one of the best running backs out of the group, one of the most productive days on Saturday as well of any offensive player on the field. And I think it really reflected in the latest mock draft that you put out. You had Michael Carter as a guy early in the third round going off the board to the New York Jets. What did you think about Carter's showing down in Mobile? And ultimately, do you think that he's a guy that has a really promising upside when it comes to his NFL future?
Yeah, Michael Carter, to me, I was a fan of Carter coming into the Senior Bowl, right? I mean, you watch those North Carolina running backs, him and Javonte Williams were just awesome all year. They were fantastic. But Michael Carter, to me, really showed in those drills the continued stuff that I'd seen on tape, but it was really nice to see him continue to do it against with a different offensive line, with a different quarterback handing him the ball, in a totally different kind of offense than North Carolina. And you saw the manipulation with his eyes, his footwork, his vision. That was all really on display. I thought he looked great in the receiving drills as well. So it really was just like cementing Michael Carter in that top group. Like, I think he was probably the biggest running back winner of the Senior Bowl because he looked like he belonged. He looked like he was ready for the NFL, just going to town. He was handling his business like a pro all week. And me and a few of the other guys at PFN have had a few debates between Javonte Williams and Michael Carter. And to me, the Senior Bowl just really put Carter above Williams, in my opinion. Like, personally, I still think Javonte will get drafted first, though.
Well, his teammate Chaz Surratt, who played with them on the national team, of course, played with them at Carolina too. He didn't have as successful of a week down there, got banged up, didn't play in the game on Saturday, actually missed the final practice as well. But I think that there were still some people that kind of, they knew some things going in about him. I still think, there are some question marks about him in terms of some of the stuff that he does in coverage, playing off of just really pure instincts. But what did you see from him, and where do you think he kind of fits in this draft? Because I feel like there are some people that think he's a second-round guy. There are some people that think he probably slips into the third round. Where do you land on that spectrum?
Yeah. To me, I think he's probably a safer bet in the third round. He's a difficult projection because guys like you guys who are always around the ball, like Chaz Surratt, is typically find that continued success in the league, right? No matter how the athletic traits, no matter this, I mean, Surratt's had 200 tackles the last couple of years, despite a recent move to linebacker. Like, that kind of stuff translates, and it really shows up. But he's an odd fit, and he's going to be, I think he turns 24 this month. I could be wrong on that, but I know he will be an older prospect going into the draft. And like you're saying, there's those issues with coverage, but I think the production is there. The intangibles are there. He's a good athlete as well. So I really think that third round, maybe fourth, because they're like, the Senior Bowl, the injuries, we're not really sure. So I would say in that round of 3 to 4 range, it's difficult to kind of get a projection because this linebacker class has so many different opinions about it. With almost every player, you've got a different answer at your order with these linebackers among scouts. So, but I do believe Surratt has put himself into that upper tier of these linebacker prospects.
Well, let's talk about Javonte Williams. You mentioned that you think that Michael Carter is probably a better overall prospect than him. But again, Michael Carter's a fantastic prospect in his own right. Javonte Williams, a guy that a lot of people are looking at and have become really high on, especially with how productive he was this year at the college level. He's in your second round in the latest mock draft that you have. I think the destination that you have him at as well is very, very interesting. But do you think that he's a guy that people are still going to be high on as they get towards the draft? And do you think there is a conversation for him to be up, in the conversation with guys like Travis Etienne and Najee Harris to be one of the first couple of running backs off the board?
Yeah, it's difficult without a combine to really show the athletic profile, because with the way the pro days are going to be, some people are going to put stock into it. Some people are kind of going to be skeptical. I really like Javonte Williams' tape. Like, these two are running back 3 and 4 for me personally. So it's not like Javonte Williams is a bad player. It's just with running backs, it's kind of been that way for the last few years that Najee and Travis Etienne have just been that. They're just way up here to the rest of these guys. And I think Javonte and Michael Carter both really gained a lot of significant ground on these two. But I don't know if Javonte is going to be in contention for the first round. I think the second round is a right sweet spot for him. I really like Javonte Williams. He's just so tough to bring down. Right? I mean, you watch that poor Miami game. Like, they could not figure out how to bring him to the ground half the time. So what he does translates really well to the pros, and it's going to lead to him being a productive pro. It's just with the way the running backs have become in recent times with draft value, it's really tough to get a gauge on just how many guys are going to be top 50 picks. And to me, right now, as it stands, that's going to be Najee and Etienne.
Well, Carolina had a great backfield duo that, of course, is going to be trying to get drafted. They also have a great wide receiver duo that is going to be trying to get drafted. You are probably the highest that I've seen so far on Dyami Brown, and I like it because I think that Dyami, a lot of the stuff that he does translates to the NFL level. Why are you so high on Dyami Brown, and do you think that the thinking around the league is somewhat similar to where you're at this moment?
Well, Dyami Brown is, to me, I really like the competitiveness he plays with, right? And Daz Newsome is much the same way, but Dyami Brown to me is it has that build-up speed that I'm kind of like, oh yeah, this guy, if he could take the top off the defense really quick, that deep threat is there. I like his length. I think he's got great length. But to me, the thing that stands out for Dyami Brown versus a lot of the deep threats in this class is he tracks the ball very well. He's great tracking the ball over his shoulder. When the ball is in the air, Dyami Brown's going to go find it. He's going to compete his tail off to go get it, which, there are so many guys who can just run a 4.3, but when that ball's in the air, they just don't have a clue. But Dyami Brown is in that next tier of deep threats because he does a good job tracking it. He's got good coordination to go out and find the ball. And the drops are there. I won't lie. The drops are certainly there, and that might have an issue, but drops can be a corrected issue because I don't think it's a concentration problem with him. So I think when you just look at his overall skill set, the value as a deep threat, I think that's starting to translate more and more to the game that's just getting faster and faster and faster, and everybody's looking for that next guy.
Well, you talked about Daz Newsome. He was an extremely productive wide receiver for Carolina, ranks in the top 5 in most of the program's receiving major receiving categories, and had a pretty solid year. He started out a little bit slow, but really woke up as the season went along. Why is he a guy that it seems like he's a lot lower on the boards than the production would say? Is it really just the fact that he's a slot receiver and that is an extremely limited position? What's your take on that?
To me, I don't think it's an issue with Daz Newsome personally. You the wide receiver group in this class is so tight in that rounds 2 to 4 kind of range, where there's so many different guys in that area, and so you're going to see guys slip down the board. And with Daz Newsome, it just kind of seems like right now is one of those guys, because the Senior Bowl, you had guys like Shi Smith and Cade Johnson and a few of these other slot guys really show up to the Senior Bowl and put themselves on this next tier from where they were. And so Daz, I think, is just kind of getting a byproduct of that. I think Daz will be a very productive pro. I think a lot of what he does as a slot guy translates, and pure slot guys these days are more and more valuable than they used to be. So I do think that he will be a productive pro. I just think that right now he's almost a victim of circumstance and the position he's playing at right now. No combine and the chance to really go through those drills is going to cause a lot of guys to kind of slip through the cracks a little bit. And unfortunately, it does seem like Daz is that guy right now.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. I think having a combine would have been huge for him, but unfortunately it doesn't go that way. Although I do like, as a Tar Heel guy and the opportunity for him to potentially be able to play, I do like the spot that you have him at with the Philadelphia Eagles. As a Giant fan, that one hurts me a little bit. I wouldn't want to see that, but we'll end up seeing where he goes to. By the way, I mean, man, you were on it right after the Senior Bowl finished. You had that mock draft up in the snap of a finger. You do such a great job covering everything for Pro Football Network when it comes to the draft. So tell people where they can check your stuff out if they want to keep up with some of the best stuff when it comes to the draft as we head towards April.
Well, you can follow me on Twitter at AJ Draft Scout. You can check out my work on Pro Football Network. You can check out the Pro Football Network mock draft simulator as well. Be sure to send me some of yours on there. I will be releasing hopefully sometime soon, kind of a big board on Twitter. So if you're interested in seeing that, kind of how I'm stacking guys and ranking guys, that will hopefully, fingers crossed, be up here soon. So, and I really appreciate you having me on. I love all 5 of these guys that we talked about. They're all really talented players. I think they're all going to be very productive pros.
Yeah, I appreciate you stopping by. It's always great to talk about the NFL draft when it comes to the Tar Heel guys on the podcast, and especially this year where it feels like you've got guys that can really go there and, as you said, make a difference, establish themselves relatively quickly. And this is the first time in a while where it's felt like that. So it's always awesome to be able to talk about these guys as they get ready for the next level, and great to talk to these NFL draft guys because I know that you guys put in just so much work when it comes to covering one of the more exciting times of year, I think, at least personally for me as a big football fan. So, hey, AJ, take care, man. Best of luck to you. Keep up with the great work, man. April is just around the corner, so I know these next 2 months are going to be a grind for you. But we wish you the best, man, and enjoy the NFL draft at the end of April. All right, man?
All right. Thank you, man. Thank you.
All righty. So that is AJ Schulte of Pro Football Network stopping by with us. You heard him there talking about the Tar Heel draft prospects. 5 guys that are attempting to get drafted, and it seems like right now all 5 guys will probably be taken sometime during those 3 days in April's draft. Of course, that'll take place April 29th through May 1st. It is expected to be, once again, a virtual draft, and we'll have you covered on all those fronts. Once they get sort of through whatever they're doing for the scouting combine, it's totally different. It's basically just your pro day, and they'll turn it into a combine. That's pretty much what they're going to end up doing. We'll have you covered on that front. We'll kind of reset where people have them on their mock draft boards, and that we'll also have you covered on draft night whenever the guys get drafted. This is going to be the first time in a while where we're going to be keeping an eye on multiple names to get drafted during the first couple of days, and then even into day 3. So we'll have all that coverage for you on the website right now. Some great stuff up there. Just a couple of days ago, National Signing Day, the normal or the regular signing period, I should say, rather uneventful, which it has become over the last couple of years, but Carolina did land a commitment in Dante Balfour, so make sure you guys go back and read the breakdown of his commitment, as well as the weekly storylines article that we have while we're covering the Tar Heel football offseason, which is moving along rather quickly as we head towards what will be a very exciting spring camp for the 2021 Tar Heels. Also on the website, we have all the coverage that you need for the basketball team. You guys can make sure you go and check that out. Of course, we had you covered with the Duke game, which took place yesterday, so make sure that you guys go back and check out the recap for that, as well as a couple other great features that we have up there on the website when it comes to Caleb Love, Anthony Harris, Armando Bacot, all those great articles that are up on the website. We've also had a new writer that has joined us. She's been putting up some great stuff. Sarah Wiley just joined our staff here at the Heel Tough blog, so make sure that you guys are keeping an eye out for 3 writers that have you covered on the basketball front. And then, of course, baseball right around the corner. We'll have you covered once again this year with the weekly recaps that we did last year before the season was, of course, shut down by COVID-19. Make sure you guys like and follow the Facebook page as well. That's the best way to get all of those articles, but also a great way to watch the podcast when we come back to it, the live videos. You can also watch the waveforms that we put up. That's a really big hit as well. So you guys can go ahead and like and follow that Facebook page for us. We'd really appreciate it. It'll also help you guys out when it comes to all of our content. And then for the people that are listening to the podcast, make sure that you rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast on whatever podcast platform you are on. The rating and reviewing moves us up some of those rankings when it comes to Tar Heel podcasts. And when people search us, they'll be able to find us. They'll be able to join the family. They'll be able to listen in to all of the great content that we have for you guys here on the Heel Tough Blog podcast. And when you subscribe, all that great content that we talked about, it'll go right into your podcast player. So whenever there's a new edition of the Heel Tough Blog podcast, it'll be waiting for you right there, and you can go ahead and listen to it anytime you want. So once again, want to thank AJ Schulte for stopping by with us. Want to thank you guys for listening, and as always, go Tar Heels.